So I want to start just going back to the issue of feedback on the plan. And paragraphs 90 and 91 show that actually there was some feedback on the plan. Both drafts were sent to the MOPAC CEO during the course of the morning for MOPAC's comment and feedback. Chief of Corporate Services sent a message to follow up, request substantive feedback before calling around 11. During that call, the MOPAC CEO stated that the all-staff message was good. She had not had time to consider the plan carefully, but thought it was too long and would require more external focus, such as a campaign or listening exercise led personally by the Commissioner. Now, there was also, in paragraph 91, the MOPAC CEO also noted the draft plan contained nothing about communication of the outcomes of Baroness Casey's review. She said it was a red line item for the Mayor that the Casey review should report to him directly, even though the Commissioner had established the Casey review on the basis that it would report only to the Commissioner. MOPAC emphasised that the red line was that the review should report to the Mayor in addition to the Commissioner. Now, those are some very clear pieces of feedback. So Tom, I'd just like your response to those in relation to the comments about there not being enough feedback, and then I've got a question for the Mayor as well on this issue.
I didn't say there was no feedback. I was saying that the material feedback came far too late, indeed on the 10th of February, which was the day the Commissioner indicated that her intention to resign.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you think that you or MOPAC should have given more detailed feedback on the Commissioner's plan any earlier?
Well, the Deputy Mayor tried to the day after our meeting. So on the 2nd of February, I met with the Commissioner. On the 3rd of February, the Deputy Mayor met with the Commissioner, and even in Sir Tom's report, he gives some reference to this, Paris 84, where the Deputy Mayor wanted to not deal with the tabled items in the agenda, 3rd of February meeting, and deal with the issue of trust confidence. The Dame Cressida dismissed that idea, spent 5 minutes talking about it. So what was the Deputy Mayor supposed to do? She's raised proactively the issue of wanting to discuss these issues. So Tom's critical about the length of the day. Well, I'm not being funny. The 3rd of February is one day after the 2nd of February. Again, an example of facts being ignored.
I mean, you've raised exactly the paragraph that I was going to go to next, which is paragraph 84. And absolutely, the Commissioner said there'd been a request that the focus for the meeting should be on trust and confidence, and the Commissioner responded by saying the discussion on trust and confidence should only take 5 minutes. Now, the issue of trust and confidence is absolutely key to the confidence in the Commissioner, both from the Mayor but also from Londoners, because the Mayor mentioned earlier the response of Londoners to this litany, this constant extra revelations of bad things that had been happening in the Metropolitan Police. And that issue of the confidence of Londoners was absolutely critical to all of these events that were going on. So, Sir Tom, do you think that it was appropriate to spend just 5 minutes of that meeting on trust, on looking at trust and confidence?
I think that the engagement that the Met were having with MOPAC on all these sorts of things was extensive. I expressed no opinion as to whether or not the Commissioner was right to say, I just want to spend a few minutes on this. The Mayor, I think, implied that this was part of feedback on the plan. But this was the 3rd of February. The plan wasn't produced until the 4th of February. So there couldn't be any feedback on the plan if the plan hadn't been sent over. So I think there's a little bit of mixing up there.
Or was it, because, yes, I read it as it was part of an engagement process on the plan.
I have no doubt that the Met took very seriously the matters that the Mayor and his staff were very concerned about.
Do you think that it could be read, the suggestion of only spending 5 minutes on the issue of trust and confidence in this discussion, that the former commissioner didn't see the extent of the issue with trust and confidence in terms of how Londoners are were reacting to the events as they played out. Do you have any comment on that, Sir Tom?
Yes, my answer to your question is no. I don't think there was any blindness on the part of the Commissioner, the then Commissioner, or the senior officers of the Met in relation to the seriousness of these things. That is why they had produced so many action plans, the Stride Plan and others, to deal with the concerns which they shared in relation to the Mayor's agenda in terms of rooting out misogyny, homophobia, racism, and all the other things that that were found.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you want to add anything on that point?
Yes. The plan that the then Commissioner Dame Cressida Dick came up with on the 4th of February was simply not good enough for the scale of the challenge facing our police service. Trust and confidence at rock bottom, trust and confidence plummeting over the last couple of years, and the former Commissioner thinking 5 minutes is adequate to discuss these issues, which would have been a really useful meeting for her, to use that time in advance of the draft plan she sent to me on Friday the 4th of February. And the Commissioner was aware by as late as the 10th of February that I didn't think that the version on the 4th of February was adequate. But she chose not to come to that meeting and discuss the draft plan with me and work towards it, improving it. I think you can't solve a problem unless you accept there's a problem. And I'll give you the difference, an example of the difference between a, inverted commas, zero tolerance towards racism, which Sir Tom praised in aid for the Met Police Service previously being an anti-racist organisation, and an organisation actually being an anti-racist organisation. An organisation that has zero tolerance towards racism responds to a complaint about racism by dealing with it individually. It could be discipline, it could be performance. An organisation that is anti-racist, when it comes to its policies, is proactive and makes sure the whole organisation has at its core the importance of weeding out racism. Child Q should not be happening. The response to it could be a zero tolerance towards racism, but the policy of strip searching children and black children in a certain way wouldn't happen in an organisation that's properly anti-racist. The gangs matrix, yes, a useful tool. A zero tolerance, inverted commas, towards racism responds to concerns raised. An anti-racist organisation deals with their core. I'll give you another example. And by the way, the reason why it's important is Sir Tom concludes, because the Met Police Service under Dame Cressida was saying we're zero tolerance, it therefore already was anti-racist. The best example is to be found in Dame Louise Case's interim report. And you'll appreciate, relevant to Sir Tom's report, up until recently, Dame Louise Case wasn't also reporting to me. It was just going to be to Dame Cressida Dick. And what Dame Louise Casey found was that the misconduct processing within the Met Police Service was discriminatory. So if you're a black officer, more likely to face discriminatory action, disciplinary process, than if you're a white officer. Again, you can have a zero tolerance towards racism, but not be an anti-racist organisation. That's why, actually, Sir Tom's report will be examined in months and years to come by academics, by anti-racist campaigners, as an exemplar in some of the problems policing has had over the last 10 years.
Can I just say, my report is not about racism. It's about the conduct of the Mayor.
Yep, no, completely. And if all colleagues could remember that, and Mr. Mayor, please too. I know you want to move on to other issues. Can we just stick, please, to what is actually in the report?
Thank you. Sorry, Chair, sorry, what I mean is, are you handing it back to me?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank
Thank
you.
you, Chair. Thank you. So, Tom, I think actually the issue of the Met Police and the need for the Met Police to be an anti-racist organisation is absolutely fundamental to these the issues that have been coming out into public through these various events and reports that have been listed at great length already in this meeting, so I won't repeat them. I'd like to actually go now to paragraph 73, because that picks up on the issue of institutional racism and anti-racism. And this was in the meeting on, was this meeting on the 2nd of February, I think, or the 4th, sorry, I haven't got the exact bit highlighted. But towards the end of the Fuller meeting, the Deputy Mayor asked about the Metropolitan Police's position on institutional racism and anti-racism. The Commissioner explained that she did not think the Metropolitan Police was institutionally racist and would not be willing to change that position on the basis of the findings in relation to Operation Houghton. Nonetheless, she was clear that the Metropolitan Police was anti-racist and that she would be and had been very willing to say so. The note records that the Mayor commented that he hadn't previously known that the MPS was an anti-racist organisation. Now, Sir Tom then says it bears noting that the Commissioner had, however, previously made comments to this effect, for example, in a statement dated the 13th of November 2020, when she acknowledged that discrimination and racism were issues that the Metropolitan Police had to contend with, but went on to say, in the Met, we have zero tolerance of racism. My job is to continue to try and eliminate any such racism discrimination, however it appears. Now, Mr. Mayor, that was back in November 2020. Do you think you should have been challenging more sooner?
We were. So I'll give you many examples of how we were challenging sooner. So in the action plan, we were challenging the police in relation to, A, having the community meetings taking place around London, not support originally. We managed to persuade the police to send senior officers. The Commissioner never went to any of those meetings. Compare and contrast, Sir Mark went to Croydon in his first couple of weeks to speak to the community about some of the concerns they had raised. A lot of these are operational matters, and so we've got limited locus. We asked the Commissioner not just to declare the police anti-racist, but also to ethnically monitor all the vehicle stops. You'll remember a big issue in relation to Banker Williams.
Yeah.
Originally, no, from the police. In the end, they agreed to a limited area of vehicle stops being ethnically monitored. Other examples of pressure being brought on the police is set out in the list I read out in relation to getting the HMI involved, getting the IPC involved, and in relation to challenging the police in relation to many of their decisions. And the point about the straw that broke the camel's back is you've got Operation Houghton, which publishes in black and white examples, not of indirect racism, not of indirect misogyny, not of subtle homophobia, but overt examples of misogyny, racism, sexism, discrimination. And the response of the police is, well, listen, the IPC's looked into this, nothing more we can do. My point was, hold on a sec. How can you expect members of the public to have confidence in our police service when they've been stopped or searched, when they've been asked to ring the police, when they're a victim of crime, when you're not being seen to respond to this way proportionate to the concerns raised? And it's on the back of the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner fully supporting the officers in Bianca Williams, and it's on record what the Deputy Mayor and I thought in relation to that issue. And there are other examples as well. And by the way, there have been many more things brought to light about things happened during the Commissioner's tenure, which I think vindicate the decision I took.
Thank you. Sir Tom, did you want to add anything?
My report is about what the Mayor did in the relevant period, not whether the Met is or is not institutionally racist or anti-racist or zero tolerance in relation to racism and so on. The factual background is as it is. What really matters and what this report is about, my terms of reference did not require me to go and examine whether or not the Met were any good at pretty much anything. They required me to look at the process which was followed and the behaviour of the principal players in this episode. And I think that some of the conversation that's taken place this morning has taken quite a divergent tangent into other matters, which my report is not about. I could talk all day about the performance of the Metropolitan Police. I've been working with these people in detail for 10 years, but that's not what the report's about.
No, that's right. And can I say, I did say this to all of the committee before this meeting. I said it at the beginning of this meeting. We are only dealing with what is in the report. And whilst I know some
Chair,
of you
I
might
have
want
raised
to
this
deviate,
Chair, this issue is not connected.
but we could say everything's connected to everything, but actually we're only here to discuss this report. So if colleagues can please just keep it to the events that are reflected back in this report.
Chair, I do think this is it's absolutely at the crux of how the trust and confidence in the Commissioner was lost, and I do think it is reflected in the report. I keep referencing the paragraphs.
Have you any other questions?
I was just very keen to hear back from the Mayor in response to what Sir Tom said.
Let's be clear. The terms of reference that the former Commissioner gave Sir Tom were establish and assess the full facts, timeline of events, and circumstances which resulted in the stepping down of Dame Cressida Dick as Commissioner. In the timeline of events and key facts are the series of terrible scandals. Now, the fact that Sir Tom's chosen to ignore them speaks volumes.
No. Sir Tom.
I haven't ignored them, and my terms of reference were not given to me by the Commissioner of the Met. They were given to me by the Home Secretary.
Yeah.
I'll make my point. So the Home Secretary is saying to Sir Tom,
no,
establish and assess the full facts. Look at the timeline of events, and the point that you're making, Caroline, is...
Mr Mayor, we are keeping just to what is in the report. We're now going to move over to my next colleague, Assembly Member... I thought you said you'd finished.
I have finished. I have finished.
So there we are. Thank you.
I have finished. But it would have been polite to let the Mayor finish his sentence.
Well, we could be sat here all day talking about things other than the report, which isn't what we're here for. Sorry, Sir Tom.
May I just add,
sorry, I couldn't finish, but Sir Tom can be brought back in.
Well, because he's only talking about the report.
I'll be very brief. The factual matrix is described in the report, but the factual matrix is relevant to the conduct of the parties and whether the Mayor was justified on the 10th of February of communicating through his staff that he was about to make an announcement that he had lost trust and confidence in the Commissioner. And the critical period is between the 19th of January and the 10th of February.